Hello everyone, this is VGTI back with another video already. Today I want to talk about none other than Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this game series. It has gotten a very large amount of popularity and attention lately, and for good reason. I actually bought the games myself recently. I played through them extensively. I looked into them extensively. I looked at all the theories online, I researched, and today I want to give you guys a theory of my own about what could be going on in the games. And I want to focus on a specific part of one of the games, just to have a sort of basis for this whole theory. Remember those cutscenes in Five Nights at Freddy's 2? And by the way, before I continue, I do want to preface this with, there are spoilers, of course, in this video for both games. If you haven't played them, give them a chance, because they're actually really good games. They don't cost that much money, so go give them a try if you are able to. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Remember the cutscenes in that game? Remember those weird, very mysterious cutscenes that happen in between the nights? The ones that seemingly take place from the perspective of Freddy Fazbear himself? I want to talk about those, and this is going to branch off into my theory for this whole thing as a whole. My theory for the cutscenes is this. I think that they take place from the perspective of the killer himself. As we know, there is a killer in Five Nights at Freddy's who has been killing children. We don't know who this killer is, and there are many theories as to who they are. But I think that these cutscenes actually take place from the perspective of the killer. Which begs the question, why is he in a Freddy Fazbear costume? I'll get to that here in a second, but first, let's talk about what actually happens in the cutscenes in Five Nights 2. First of all, you have the first cutscene, which the location in front of you seems to be the dining area from Five Nights 1. It looks very identical, and you have Bonnie and Chica by your side who look exactly as they did in Five Nights 1. So it's reasonable to assume that these cutscenes take place in the same location. Now, the first cutscene isn't that weird. You're looking out from what seems to be Freddy Fazbear's head and moving around side to side almost animatronically. Bonnie and Chica are staring out at the dining area. Nothing weird about that. Now, let's move to the next cutscene, the second cutscene. This one is a little creepier, because as you look side to side, you see that Bonnie and Chica are now glancing back at you. What could this mean? Well, it's not really for certain until you get to the third cutscene. This is when things really start to get sinister. As you look side to side, you'll notice that Bonnie and Chica are now glaring at you, or what it seems like glaring. They're staring dead at you now, and their eyes look black and hollow. And as the camera pans over one more time, you see that Golden Freddy is now standing in front of you, giving you the same look. And of course the cutscene ends right after that. This is when the game itself, and the cutscenes by extension, start to get very mysterious, and they start raising a lot of questions. It only gets worse on the fourth cutscene, which the whole thing is just the marionette doll, which is one of the new enemies from Five Nights 2, staring you dead in the eyes and not moving away. As the camera moves side to side, the marionette doll follows your every move, and it seems to be glaring at you, like even more so than Bonnie and Chica were the previous night. Something is definitely up here. So, given what we know about the cutscenes now that I've explained them, what does this all mean? Well, here's where I'm going to branch off, and I will preface this by saying I am going to drop kind of a bombshell of an opinion on you guys. What I'm about to tell you could be a theory video of its own, because of what it is, and it might be eventually, but for this video I just gotta say it so I can progress the theory along and give my points. Here's what I think. There are two killers in Five Nights at Freddy's. there's not one sole killer, there's actually two. If you've seen Game Theory's second video on Five Nights at Freddy's, you'll know what one of the killers could possibly be. The phone guy. That is who I think one of the killers is, but it's more complicated than that. I also think that there's a second killer, and this second killer is actually the guy who gets moved to the day shift in Five Nights 2, the one that you take over the night shift for. The phone guy mentions him briefly on one of the nights, but weird things seem to start happening during the day at the restaurant that the phone guy informs you on in the later nights. And this seems to imply that the day shift guard is actually behind things. However, I think the phone guy was in on this too. Here's where I am going to go back even further, and we are going to discuss what these guys have actually done. Now, I don't know when exactly phone guy enters the equation here, but the second killer, the day shift guard, as I am going to keep referring to him, he is the one who has been at this the longest. He has been killing kids. The first kid that he killed was that crying child that we see in the Give Them Cake minigame, the one that's crying outside the restaurant. That was the day shift guard's first victim. And since then, he's been killing kids. He is a serial killer. And eventually, the phone guy got in on this too. I don't know what the phone guy's relation is to the day shift guard. That could be something that could be discussed in a later video, but that's not going to prove any points here. The point is that the phone guy came into the equation at a later date, and he started helping out the day shift guard. How did he help him out? Well, in my opinion, I think the phone guy, his role was to keep the authorities off of the day shift guard's back. The phone guy diverted suspicion from the day shift guard so that he could keep on killing. And heck, the phone guy might have even helped with some of the killings. Who knows? But I think his primary responsibility was to keep suspicion away from the day shift guard, and by extension, himself. So we know who the killers could be, and we know what they've been doing, but now comes the question of the animatronics themselves. Why are they walking around? What's going on with them? All that kind of stuff. This goes as far back as the crying child outside of the restaurant in the Give Them Cake minigame. If you guys have watched the Game Theory video, then you know where I'm going with this. It's theorized that that child ends up possessing the marionette doll from Five Nights 2. And I agree with this theory, and I'm going to use that as a point of evidence here. The crying child from that minigame eventually goes on to possess the marionette doll from the Freddy Fazbear's in Five Nights 2. So what's he doing? Well, like I mentioned, I think that this crying child was the day shift guard's first victim. Now this child, his spirit lived on, as a ghost, as a spirit. He is vengeful, he wants revenge on the day shift guard for killing him, and he will stop at nothing to make sure that his revenge is served. So, here's what he does. He possesses the marionette doll in Five Nights 2, and seems to have this strange supernatural ability on the other animatronics, just by being around them. This, I'm still thinking about. I can't really explain it because we don't have a bunch of evidence for what the marionette can do exactly, but it seems to have some kind of effect on the animatronics themselves in Five Nights 2. Because the marionette is around them, and possibly because of its intentions to get revenge on the day shift guard, all of the animatronics start walking around because of this. It's some kind of supernatural power that the puppet has, and this is why they start walking around in Five Nights 2. That's how all the animatronics are in Five Nights 2, barring a couple of them. So, let's step into the shoes of the day shift guard. As of right now, he has the night shift at the Freddy Fazbear's in Five Nights 2, and he notices that the animatronics are walking around and trying to get into his office. Now, this guy is the killer of the kids from the previous restaurants. So, obviously, he is feeling very paranoid, very scared, and he wants out. The phone guy gets him out, puts him in the day shift, and puts the protagonist of Five Nights 2, Jeremy, in the position of the night shift. That's where this all starts, really. Now, the marionette, the kid, it's hard to say whether it can tell who is who. It's hard to say whether it can tell what day shift guard is who and what night shift guard is who. But chances are it's just having the animatronics attacking these guards at random until it finds the actual killer, the one who killed him. The reason the marionette is doing this is because it associates its killer with the Freddy Fazbear's restaurant as a whole. And heck, if the spirit of the marionette, the spirit of the kid, ended up discovering the addition of the phone guy, who is also a security guard, then that would also explain why the marionette is having the animatronics attack security guards. I also want to mention the two purple figures in the death minigames in Five Nights 2. There have been theories about whether these purple figures are the same person or whether they are different people, because some of the sprites look different from the other ones. There's 3 total sprites of the purple man in those minigames, and only one of them really looks shockingly different from the others. The one in the Foxy minigame that's smiling, and the one that kills the kid in the Give Them Cake minigame, that sprite looks pretty similar. That is what I think the day shift guard is, that purple man. However, the other sprite, the rarely encountered one, the one that appears on the Save Them minigame that will rush you, that I think is the phone guy. It has what appears to be a security guard badge on, and he's holding what appears to be a phone. Also, do note that that sprite of possibly phone guy, that sprite has white eyes, while the other Purple Men sprites have black eyes, the ones in the Foxy minigame and the Take Them Cake minigame. This will be important later, but obviously you know who I think the identities of these purple sprites are, so let's get back to the theory at hand here. I want to point your attention to the missing children incident. This incident has been hinted at throughout the entire series of games, both 1 and 2. In Five Nights 1, we actually got these strange newspaper clippings that appeared on the wall sometimes, and they would describe the missing children incident in some detail. But it didn't specify when this incident took place. What it does say is that 5 children seemingly went missing from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and the killer, whoever the killer was, apparently lured them in by wearing one of the animatronic suits to gain their trust. Now, in the first game, we didn't know much about this aside from what the newspaper clippings told us, but Five Nights 2 seemed to imply even more. Five Nights 2 seemed to imply that this incident actually happened during the events of that game. Here's the reason I say this. If you play Night 6 on Five Nights 2, the phone guy gives you a rather worried message, where he tells you that the place has closed down, at least for a while, and apparently it's because of the fact that recently someone used a suit to lure children and kill them. This seems to be the exact same incident that the posters, the newspaper articles were referring to in Five Nights 1, and he notes, that the suit was a yellow one. So of course we can safely assume that it was the Golden Freddy costume. So what all happened after this? Well, here's what I think, and this is going to conclude my theory after I get done explaining it, so grab the popcorn and get ready. The killer, the day shift guard, stuffed the children's bodies inside some of the animatronics at the Freddy Fazbear's in Five Nights 2. It's reported in the newspaper articles that the parents went there the very next day, and they were giving reports of the animatronic suits having blood and mucus leaking out of them and them smelling like corpses. So this seems to be what the killer did with them. Now, The marionette took notice of this fact. We don't know why the killer did this. It was probably to hide the bodies, but the marionette took notice, and it started forming an even more twisted, more sick idea for its revenge. Fast forward a few years, and we have the location from Five Nights 1. More children go missing. To be specific, 3 more children go missing. This is all due to the day shift guard still continuing his killings. However, when he committed these killings of these 3 children, the marionette finally got him. It finally trapped him. Those cutscenes from Five Nights 2 confirm that the marionette is present in the location from Five Nights 1, although we don't know in what capacity. But the marionette finally got the day shift guard. We don't know how, but it somehow managed to trap him, and it killed him. Now, this is where we go into one of the death minigames, the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame. We see the 4 corpses. 3 of those corpses are the children that the day shift guard killed. The other corpse is the day shift guard. It is the killer. The marionette goes around, stuffs the bodies inside the suits, including the killer's. The killer is the one inside the Freddy Fazbear suit. This is what I was talking about with the cutscenes. Why did the marionette put the kids in the suits? That is because it wants to torture the killer as much as it can. This is all part of its sick and twisted revenge scheme on the killer for all of those years ago. And as part of this torture plan, it has stuffed the killer inside an animatronic suit, forced to do its bidding while its victims are sitting right beside it. So what happened to Phone Guy? Well, the marionette eventually gets him too by sicking the other animatronics from Five Nights 1 on him. This is what happens in one of the messages. The Phone Guy seems to die. The marionette finally got him. So what did he do with Phone Guy? The marionette stuffed Phone Guy in one of the costumes. It was the Golden Freddy costume. The Phone Guy is inside the Golden Freddy costume from Five Nights 1. And to back this up even further, look at Golden Freddy in Five Nights 1. It has little white lights in its eyes. Sounds pretty similar to that purple man sprite from one of the minigames, doesn't it? This just furthers the connections. That purple man in that minigame with the white eyes is the Phone Guy, and he's also inside the suit in Five Nights 1. This is why the Golden Freddy in Five Nights 2 has blank, hollow black eyes instead of the white ones, the white dots that we are used to seeing from Golden Freddy. And even though both killers have been caught by the marionette, it continues its spree of revenge on pretty much all security guards that work at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza because of its long-standing grudge, and that will not go away. And that is why the animatronics attack Mike Schmidt in Five Nights 1. So everyone, that is my theory for Five Nights at Freddy's and what is going on with those cutscenes. That's what I think's going on, and in a way this was 2 theories in one, because I also got to talk about what I think went on with the killers and who I think they were. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Tell me your own theories. Tell me what you think of this theory. Keep the discussion rolling, guys. There's plenty to discuss here. One important thing that I want to note is that Scott Cawthon, the creator of Five Nights, did update his website very recently, and it shows a picture of what looks like Golden Freddy. It's kind of hard to tell, of course, but it looks like Golden Freddy. It has white eyes, glowing white eyes, which, of course, I just noted about the Phone Guy, and next to it, it says, "I'm still here." Think about that one. So, if you liked the video, please like the video, maybe share it, and if you want, subscribe to my channel. It really does help out. I really appreciate it, and if you subscribe, you'll get to see more awesome video game theories daily. I hope you guys enjoyed, and rest assured there will be more Five Nights at Freddy's Theories videos, especially with 3 coming out. There's plenty more to theorize about here. I'll see you guys in my next video.